Welcome to the final score. We're starting something new this week. We're doing an interview. We're going to try to do some of these interviews and really expand the final score. With us today, it's a huge guest for our first guest. A lot of you guys, wrestling fans, know him. He's the Podfather of podcast, the founder of First Family Mortgage. He's done podcasts with the likes of the Nature Boy Ric Flair. He's done What Happened When with the voice of WCW, Tony Schiavone. And he's also done Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, the two-time award-winning podcast for Best Sports Podcast. So I want you to welcome, a huge honor to be talking to him today, Mr. Conrad Thompson. Welcome, Mr. Thompson.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. It's a big deal to be invited, and I hope I live up to that incredible introduction.
Well, you definitely deserve it, because I am a huge fan of all your podcasts. We'll start it off. How long have you been a wrestling fan, and what was it that got you into wrestling?
WrestleMania 4 in the summer of 1988. We went to visit my grandfather over the summer vacation. And, of course, back in those days, your first trip to town meant you go to the video store. My parents rented a bunch of cassettes, and they got me the double tape set for WrestleMania 4, and I was hooked. So, summer of 88, that's what happened for me.
That was a WrestleMania 4 double VHS was a Christmas present for me that year. So, I'm right there with you. Now, so you apparently were you more of a WWF guy or a NWA, WCW guy?
I was definitely more of a WWF guy. It took until I was probably 16 or 17 before I had an appreciation for the Crockett stuff.
Say that at small town like I'm in, believe me, if you don't know how small the town I live in is, we've never had cable here. With just DirecTV. So the only thing I could get around here in North Carolina, this little small town, was NWA. At 12:30 on Saturdays and 11:30 on Saturday nights, and every once in a while you were lucky enough to get the main event on NBC on Saturday night. So I was more of a NWA Crockett guy. Obviously Tony was. When I heard you were doing the podcast with Tony, that was a big thrill for me to get him back into wrestling, because I'd always wondered where he went to. And I saw he had been doing baseball, but, I always wanted him to get back into wrestling, and you made that happen. Now, how did that come about with Tony, with getting him back into it?
I saw him at the NWA Legends Fan Fest, and he stole the show. He has a super foul mouth and a different type of sense of humor than most people assumed. And so once I saw that, I realized, man, this is who I need if I ever get to do a WCW one. So I got his phone number. I asked him by text for his email. He sent it to me. I sent him an email, and he emailed me back the next day and said, I'm in.
Well, it's definitely worked out for him. The first few, he was kind of feeling his way, I think, but he's definitely caught fire with it. And definitely, when y'all went to the kind of really what I enjoy is when y'all went to kind of the Mystery Science Theater format, watching the pay-per-views and talking along. That's some of the most hilarious stuff I've ever heard. And you found out a lot of stuff that I really had no idea about. And I kind of consider myself having somewhat knowledge of wrestling, but I found a lot of stuff out from y'all that I would have never known.
Well, thanks, man. That's the idea. We want to entertain you, we want to inform you, and we want to make you laugh. Now,
how did you get into podcasting? I mean, what made you want to start doing podcasts?
I never wanted to. Ric Flair asked me to sit in on his first one when he first got a podcast and just asking fan questions. It went well. He kept asking me to come back. CBS liked it. He liked it. So I became an accidental podcaster.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if that was something you came to Ric Flair with, but I didn't know he had came to you with it. So that's pretty interesting there. So what is it like to work with Tony? I mean, I'm going to ask you about the same thing about Bruce too, but working with Tony, what is that like?
Tony just sort of respects my vision, that fans want, and says, hey, what do we want to do? And I sort of lay out what I think the plan should be, and he says, okay, let me know when you're ready. And he's just off the cuff, funny, and ready to go.
Yeah, he's definitely funny. It's definitely enjoyable. I look forward to Monday mornings every week. I'm off on Monday, so I look forward to Monday mornings every week. And I'm not to say I'm not a big fan of Bruce's, but I'm a big fan of Bruce's too. But like I said, I'm more of a NWA, WCW guy, and hearing Tony stuff, that's really great for me. How is it working with Bruce? That's a little different, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce is definitely more cantankerous, but he provides a lot more detail, and he certainly does more prep. But, you know, Bruce is more, he takes everything a lot more seriously than Tony does.
Yeah.
Just his time in the business, what people are saying, he takes it a lot more personal. Tony just sort of, brushes it off.
Yeah. Now you've been teasing a little bit here lately, in the last week or so, that you had a backup plan in case Tony decided not to do the podcast anymore. And I'm, just hearing the music, I'm assuming that you have a new podcast coming. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We're going to be doing 83 weeks with Eric Bischoff.
Oh, now that's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that too. So tell me, now, you said you're more of a WWF guy. What was your favorite match as far as WWF goes? Your favorite match of all time?
As a kid, it was Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6. As an adult, it's Steve Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13.
WrestleMania 13. Now, I have to go WrestleMania 3. I have to go with Savage and Steamboat. That match really got me going. I was able to see. I was able to get a friend of mine that had had the pay-per-views and could get a tape of it, and I was able to see that, and I was like, wow. And then when Steamboat came over to WCW, him and Flair really put on some great shows there. So what? Let's see. What's your thoughts on the current product right now? You think? My opinion, and I mean, I know this doesn't mean anything to McMahon or anything. It's kind of stale right now.
Well, why do you say that?
I just say because it seems like it's the same thing, like a broken record, like you're getting the same story with different people, and it keeps going around and around. But it's nobody. I'm kind of more excited now to see Daniel Bryan come back. It gave it a little more excitement. But I have nothing against Roman Reigns, but it's just like they're trying to force feed us Roman Reigns.
How's that different from real sports?
Well, I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. But
the idea is that in sports entertainment, and in sports entertainment, you're going to have some things that mirror real athletics. And in real life, the Patriots are there every year. In real life, right. Crimson Tide's there every year. I hate to be so ridiculous with it, but on some level, if we're going to make it look like legitimate sports, we're going to have a lot of the same guys in the mix. But people are going to fire to that, but that's reality.
What I just don't understand, and I don't have anything against Reigns, not at all. I mean, he's a good wrestler, but with the fan reaction, I've never seen a wrestler that gets the fan reaction like he does as far as booing, except, Cena somewhat, but Reigns is a little bit to the next level that they haven't turned heel yet. And I can understand Cena a little bit more. They haven't turned heel because of his work with Make-A-Wish and stuff like that. But with Reigns, I would have thought they would have turned him heel by now with the reaction he's getting from the crowd.
Help me understand. You think they would like him as a heel?
I
don't think they're booing him because he's doing bad guy acts. They're booing him
no.
They don't want him.
What I'm saying is, in the past, take for instance The Rock, when he was Rocky Maivia, he was getting booed. People really didn't like what he was doing, and they eventually turned him heel, and he got over that way. With Reigns, it seems like it's the same kind of reaction, but they're not turning him heel.
No, I think you're overthinking it. What turned Rock was Rock's promos. You listen to Roman Reigns' promos now, they're heel. I mean, he's been doing promos where he's saying, "I'm the big dog, this is my yard, blah, blah, blah."
Well,
I think people don't really understand, in my opinion, this is my opinion,
right.
The word heel and babyface don't really apply like maybe they once did.
No, it's definitely not like it was back in the 80s and up until the mid-90s. I think Stone Cold kind of changed that whole perception of good guy and bad guy. Because, I don't, and to a certain extent, the Road Warriors, because when WCW tried to turn Road Warriors heel when they attacked, I mean, the biggest babyface in WCW. They attacked Sting, and they were still getting cheers, and they eventually had to move them back to fighting heel tag teams again. So, yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. The days of heel and babyface are pretty much gone.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's not the same anymore.
No, it's definitely not the same. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but I do appreciate you doing this. It means a lot to me, and it's a big honor for me, and I just thank you for doing this for me today. And I know you're a busy man. We'll let you get back to your busy schedule.
Hey, man, thank you very much for thinking of me. If you'd like to chat with me on Twitter, I am at Hey, it's Conrad, and you can catch the show with Bruce every Friday at noon Eastern at somethingtowrestle.com. And, of course, Tony Schiavone is Monday mornings at whwmonday.com.
Now, before I let you go, when will be the Eric Bischoff will be starting?
In the month of April. We haven't announced the date yet, but stay tuned. We'll have some more details next week.
All right. Thank you so much again. I can't stress enough how appreciative I am of you doing this, and I really appreciate you doing this interview with me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. You have a good one.
Thanks, man.